And on the line now, excited to have Steve Dunstan from Huffer. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. It's so nice to catch up with you and appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
It's cool. Because I've got a kind of a special connection with Huffer. Can I tell you about that first?
Yeah, yes, okay.
Okay, so when you started, so it was 97, so we were coming down to Queenstown. I was living in Auckland to film a snowboarding show with Jeremy Wells. And and I remember that we got this amazing ski suit. Well, I guess it was a snowboard outfit, really. You know, it was one of your very first designs, and I've still got that. And my son just loves it. He's 21, and he's pinched it off me.
Have you still got it? Can I come and get it?
I've still got it. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, we. That's amazing. And so fitting because we're celebrating 25 years at the moment, and we've remade. We've gone back to our first ever range, which was snowboard outerwear, and we've used that to inform a capsule collection that we're going to drop, which is quite cool.
Oh, that's amazing!
Back to how we started, which is great.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I remember it was grey and it had a yellow. It was very cool. I felt pretty cool because no one else had Huffer, you know, no one. In fact, not many people had even heard of Huffer, and I think I think that the pants were like navy, but they were lined with yellow, like bright yellow. Like,
oh yes, I know.
Do you know the ones?
It might actually been 98, I believe.
Oh, it could have been 98. Yeah, probably was.
Yeah, wow, look at that. Jeez, and you still have that. That's amazing. Please hang on to it, and I might try and get it off you at some stage.
Well, it's quite vintage, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is. I mean, that's almost 25 years. Wow.
I know, that's what happens when you get older. Some of your clothes start to kind of get that sort of quality about them. But yeah, I did love it. It was super cool, and it's like your whole label, the way it started was really impressive, wasn't it? Because you had a specific sort of need that you were trying to fulfill, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, it's great you bring up the snowboard outerwear, and it's maybe something that not everyone knows, and their journey with our brand can be start where it wants, I suppose. But having our first range being really, we were, snowboarding was in its infancy at the time. And to me and us, it was really pretty much taking skateboarding to the snow. And we were really new to the room in a traditional ski environment. We kind of wanted to express who we were, which we were skateboarders, and we were expressionists wanting to do our thing on the mountain. And how you look was a big part of it. But of course, you wouldn't want to. You don't want to get cold and wet.
Yeah.
You need to survive. So it was a mix of the expression and the functionality coming together, which felt like a bit of a unique proposition at the time.
Yeah, because you think back. I mean, you think about those awful tight sort of overalls and a horrible ski wear, mountain wear that people used to wear in the mid to late 90s.
Skateboarders didn't want to wear that.
Nah.
There was very limited options for us to sort of be ourselves, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, it was started out of that need and want, but then it gave us an identity, and it brought us together, I suppose.
And Yeah, well, that's right. And it's cool that you can you have that mantra, like, started in the hills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, we're born in the hills, but we're all raised on the streets. And if we go back beyond, our first range in 97, how, we wouldn't just click our fingers and start, but, we were influenced from the 90s. And it was our time, I suppose, skateboarding in the streets in the 90s, and the culture of the 90s, the music, and, what we all did through that period, as we were young and fearless and living the dream, meeting up, with our sort of subculture of skateboarders, and the putting all that into the mix to shape the inception in the first range when snowboarding evolving through that period and transferring our sort of knowledge of the streets through skateboarding to the hills in our first range. So it's, that's where that comes from, I suppose.
And you and Dan, take us back a little bit to the friendship and how you sort of actually managed to, because a brave, bold move to do what you guys did, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I suppose, when I say fearless, being caught up in that culture of living and breathing board sports and, skateboarding through into snowboarding was, that was the coming together of a community and as I say, a subculture, and mixing that all together and bringing it together into something that was ours. That was it was like a badge of honor, you can almost say, to bring these people together and have something that felt like ours. And I think inclusivity has been a big part of what we do. Especially, I suppose, we get thrown around into what you could call fashion, which has levels of exclusivity. We're really big on pulling people together. So just having the opportunity for people to be part of it was really important.
How have you coped the last two and a half years, like with shortages of materials and things like that? Have you been impacted hugely by the pandemic, or not so much so?
Yeah. I mean, we totally have. We may be a bit luckier than others in other industries, but I remember going to lockdown day one, or before the midnight of March the 20, whatever it was, back in 2020. It was I set sail out to the west coast, got a place at Piha, and I drove off into the sunset, like the rest of the nation, probably wondering what was going to be next. It was quite horrific. I'll never forget that feeling. I actually slept really well that night, in a weird way, because I felt like the world stopped. And so all this energy, it just seemed really calm. But
it was like there was nothing you could do. That's a very good description.
Yeah. And then we woke up and dealt with it. I think for me, 25 years, I'm a founder and a brand director, but I'm so lucky that we have the most amazing team, and we have a great managing director that runs the business, Kate Berry, and she provided such amazing leadership through that for our team, and what was just horrific, like all of a sudden we have a lot of retail stores with leases. We have many staff, well over 100 if you include all our retail stores. And production, there's so many factors and things we had to worry about, and our team was led through it, and we worked really hard on that, on great communication and togetherness, and just really worked on resilience was a massive part of it.
Good word.
Resilience, I suppose. It's been thrown around, but the resilience was built through having, bringing our team together and having that clear communication and working together on plans. Helped us with resilience, I suppose, to get through.
Yeah.
And then, that was, the lockdown one, I suppose. And then it continues, because as you were saying, there's more factors to just stopping. There was production issues and supply chain and so many factors that we had to take into account. And again, led by our amazing team. So, yeah. And it's still affecting us today, obviously.
That's right.
Far from through the pandemic, and there's sort of an aftershock of effects around the world with supply chains, and even travel's still hard. So and a war thrown in. You're right. Yeah.
And so, I mean, Huffer has always been considered cool, but incredible how you've managed to continue with your expansions. Like, you've gone into Australia, so you opened up in Bondi. Yeah. How's that going?
Well, no, we did expand. We've been in Australia since 2003 to some level. I remember setting sail over there with some suitcases, and went over there and picked up some what we call wholesale accounts, like some other skate shops over there that want to stock our products. And then we got more serious about it towards probably 2015-16, opening up our store in Bondi, retail, to have a presence there, so our brand could have a landing pad for people to connect with. And we felt like Bondi had a good community around it. But at the same time, we're realizing, our roots from outerwear a success with jacketing and down products essentially. And here we are in like a beach town. We had the opportunity to hand our lease on, and we transferred the resource to Victoria and moved retail into Melbourne, which as a state, Victoria, I suppose the climate was, and the demographic and, the fact that it's more of a metropolitan city, commuters, and it's made way more sense for us. So, so we sort of, as part of the journey, I suppose, of new market entry, we sort of we sort of adjusted to the needs.
That's right. And, of course, Melbourne's climate's a lot more like New Zealand's, really. It's all over the place.
Yeah. I mean, it gets really cold over there. It's colder than Auckland in winter at times, and really wet. And, there are people, a lot of commuters and, cyclists, and people walk a lot. So, our product's been waterproof outerwear and down jackets, and, just it suits that environment.
Also a stylish city, like whenever I go there, I don't know, you drive, you're in a cab going to your hotel, and you're like, whoa, look at these people, wow, they look sharp.
Melbourne's cool. There's a cool culture in the streets in Melbourne. There's some cool music, and there's great people. So it was good.
And then a little bit in the US market as well. You had a foray there. But is that still happening with Urban Outfitters?
No, we're not currently in the US. No, that was a long time ago. So we ventured into the US pre-2010, actually, in the lead up 2 or 3 years. We went, so we basically pulled out in 2010. We just realized we weren't ready. We gave it a go the way we did it in New Zealand, and quite quickly realized how big the market is and the resource that was needed. So it was a massive learning, and we had some successes to some degree, like with the product and some of the stockists, but just having the resource and the processes and systems behind us to be able to have a business in the US, we weren't ready for that. So we came out of that to come back and focus on us.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, you've had a bit of celebrity endorsement. We've got to mention this. Post Malone, 2019. Tell us about that.
Post Malone, that's right.
Post Malone.
That was awesome. That basically came through. Post Malone was touring through New Zealand, and we have some good relationships with some of the record labels over here, and we get the opportunity to gift products to people, and out of respect, and just give an old postie.
Oh yeah.
A little welcome gift to New Zealand. And he the great thing is he took it away, and it was a bright yellow jacket, and he took it home, and he used it. I think the story goes I'm not sure the model name, but there's a Rolls-Royce SUV, but his one happened to be covered in yellow leather on the inside, so the jacket. Wow. The jacket matched his car.
His roller. Good God.
Yeah. So he was fronting his jacket with pride.
Good on him.
Postie.
Yeah, good on him, Postie. Yellow's a big colour for Huffer, isn't it? You've used it a lot.
Yeah, yellow. It has for a long time actually, but more recently it has a close tie to what we call people presence, which is our flag. We fly around all things around mental health and well-being. So, it's an important colour for the brand. Yeah,
it's a great colour. It's such a sunny, positive colour.
Yeah, that's right. It totally is. And if we go back to your jacket, you had maybe the 1998 snowboard jacket. It had yellow trim on it, right?
It did. I love the yellow trim. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go home today and put it on. Again, I love
please.
it. Yeah,
send me a photo.
Yeah, I will. And also, speaking of celebrity endorsements, Orlando Bloom. Yeah. So he wore one of your designs to the premiere of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. It's funny, that story. That was quite it gets talked about a lot. In the story of Huffer, I suppose. 2003, it was relatively early on for us. It was when we were sort of growing past into a wider market outside of our skateboard and snowboard community. We decided to, we're really proud of where we're from, and we're hugely influenced, and in a skate and snow environment, we're influenced by US culture and skate culture. But I think what would be normal is to sort of copy and mimic that. But we New Zealand was part of who we were, and we ended up basically putting on a T-shirt, and we made the New Zealand map out of lots of dots, and Taupo was like the 3 dots in the middle, and that was our logo. So at the time, it sounds weird now putting a New Zealand map on a T-shirt, but I think at the time that it just resonated with the nation, and it was celebrated, and it seemed really fresh. And so we had different versions of Kiwi Ana, you could say, on T-shirts. One was the I Huffer NZ T-shirt, which was like a slight copy on the I Love New York T-shirt, but we used our 3-dot logo, turned it upside down to it looks slightly like a heart, and that T-shirt had huge success, and it grew us into a new wider market. And I suppose that event of Orlando wearing it on the red carpet for the Lord of the Rings was, 200,000 people on the street, was sort of more so, there's so many factors to it, but, it was back when all the channels of communication were very narrowed down. It was basically radio, TV, and the newspaper to get information, and it ended up all over it. But everybody, if you think back, people pick up on it saying, was that a successful moment? But it was more representative of what had already happened. The success of those T-shirt prints was actually at a point where it was almost out of control. We were limiting the supply because we were careful, because we didn't want to oversaturate. And the fact that he got that T-shirt, wore it on the red carpet because it was the T-shirt to have at the time. Yeah. And then the question came, are we going to remake the T-shirt? And I instantly said no, because it was an easy decision to make, because it already had the fame and success. And that in itself made the next front page of the Herald news, the fact that we didn't make the T-shirt. So that was a great opportunity for us to, when the communications, the communication through the nation was so channeled, for us to really show how we love our values to some degree.
You're always pretty savvy with your marketing. I've always been really impressed with how you portray the company and market it.
Oh, that's great.
Is that your brain, Steve, or was it the pair of you at the time when you first started, or who do you credit that all for? Just the team around you as well?
Well, another one of our values is live Huffer, and starting from scratch, that's exactly what we did and still do. Live Huffer, live the brand. So, we didn't start with a strategic plan. We definitely have one now, and it's really important, because we're providing career opportunities, and, we have so many responsibilities within us now. But, from the start, it was just, live Huffer, and just we were immersed in it. And it was really, it didn't seem like we had to come up with a clever plan. We just needed to live the brand. Mm-hmm. And it was, it goes beyond 97. As I said at the start, it was just, our experiences through the early 90s and what we'd lived pre-Huffer. Huffer was the birth of the brand and the company, but it's even before that.
Yeah. So, Steve, the name Huffer, we haven't actually really discussed that. How did that come about?
Well, it came about, it was Dan's school project before we turned it into a business, and it came out of pure creativity. I think it was really important to have a name that, for me, Huffer means Huffer and us. There's no other meaning to it. It's got a sense of purity around it. So it's just purely out of creativity. It's not the name of some dog that we had, or it's just came out of thin air, which is great. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. Have you got time to hang on for a wee bit longer, Steve? Because I would love to play it. Can I play a Post Malone song now?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Let's do that, shall we? So let's play a bit of Posty, Better Now. And then hang on the line. I'll come back to you shortly.
Yeah.
That's Huffer fan Post Malone with Better Now. I really enjoyed hearing that. And we've got Steve Dunstan on the line, the brand director and co-founder of Huffer. You enjoy that one?
Yeah, good old Posty, eh?
Yeah. I love the way you call him that. I was just...
like he's my best mate.
Oh, yeah, I know. He probably is.
No.
I just imagine him driving around in his roller with the yellow seats and the big fluoro Huffer sort of top and just looking like the man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's fun, all right. Yeah, I enjoyed... I'm actually just proud that I think that maybe the first time that anyone's played Post Malone on the platform.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was an interesting choice for the platform. That's good. Good to see, you guys are progressing there.
Well, I'm the one who's... I'm the one trying to push the boat out, okay? It's fallen to me only, even though, I'm of a certain age too, but I still try to play some more recent music, because you can't just live on classic hits, can you, from the 70s?
No. I think the key is a bit of, variety.
Yeah.
The spice of life, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that people in their 70s and 80s, if they were listening, probably would have quite enjoyed that song, It's,
totally.
Quite accessible. But yeah, so he was a fan of Huffer. And I mean, you have lots of fans of the brand here and across the Tasman. Do you the current range and things? It's a lot less street and it's more kind of lifestyle now. It has morphed quite a bit, hasn't it, Steve?
I mean, yeah, it's a 25-year journey, right? But I really, to me, Huffer is Huffer. You try and explain that to someone who hasn't heard of Huffer, and they're like, what are you talking about? But right. Just put yourself in a box. Like streetwear. I suppose we started with snowboard outerwear and quite quickly skateboard clothing. So it was skate and snow. And then the word streetwear got thrown around. We started doing interviews and things for magazines, whatever, and people quote us as streetwear. It never felt right.
Really?
But,
okay.
Well, no, because we came from a background of what we did through having especially functional outerwear. But then through the 2000s into the early 2010s, we definitely were. And still are. We are in the streetwear market. But as you say, I mean, there's, our product's informed by our past. And, we're driven to progress and innovate. Like, the fact that, one of our first garments started as a 96-piece panel outerwear jacket was seam sealing, one of the first things we made. Like, we always want to push ourselves and make products that enhance your lifestyle. So yeah, I mean, well, I like to, I use the words seek, socialize, survive to position our product, which is really good. We've talked about streetwear, functional, expressive as a category, which doesn't quite make sense, but I think when it comes to it, Huffer is Huffer. And we definitely play within quite a large environment of categories, but predominantly, yes, streetwear is part of our marketplace through the lens of lifestyle.
Do you think there's are you age? No, that's not. I wasn't going to say are you ageist, but can people over a certain age still really get something exciting out of Huffer? Like, do you if you've got the right attitude, can someone in their 50s or 60s rock a Huffer look?
Yeah, well, of course, and they do. Our target market is early 20s, but it's especially right now we're working a lot on that 25 years, and one thing I'm really proud of that we've survived a generation. I go into our stores and you see youthful 16, 15-year-olds trying to fit into our product. We don't actually make for youth, but they're wanting to grow into the brand, and they're highly engaged, and they weren't even born, which is quite exciting, quite an accomplishment, I think, to have this generation highly engaged. But at the same time, if you do the math, we started 25 years ago. I was probably in my early 20s. You can guess my age, but and there's people older than me that can still wear our brand. It's age is an attitude, as they say, but and it's more the lifestyle and your outlook on life. The world's changing. Like, unfortunately for the suit makers, like, how many suits have been worn? No one's going to the offices. Like, why do you need a suit?
Actually, true.
So what are you going to wear? And you can buy one of our classic down jackets, and it dresses all in a cool way. And that's a hard thing for us to work on. Like, we do dress a wide market. How do you say cool with the cool kids, and how do the dads? How do the dads wear it, but the cool kids wear it? And that's one thing I'm proud of too. I think we span generations well, by having a brand character and telling our story, living our values, and having integrity behind what we do. Because I see some other brands that are targeting youth, but the dads are wearing it, and the youth don't think it's cool.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure we have a bit of that, but I really think, we're slightly universal, and that's what we try and be. But yes, I'm really proud of our achievement.
Yeah, you should be.
That.
Hey, Steve, are you guys getting into that sort of oversized look? Because obviously I've been looking at a few like high fashion magazines, and for women there's these massive, massive jackets, like big down jackets that are ginormous, right?
Well, that's sort of playing into our hands because that's kind of who we are.
They're following your example, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you think about us in the 90s skateboarders, everything was baggy, 90s silhouettes. I mean, it's a trend that's come back around. But
think of the Happy Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
But you had to have the big pendants as well, like big gold kind of chains hanging off you, and big, really big baggy pants, right? And yeah. I mean, that only seems like yesterday to me, so it's still quite fresh in my mind.
It's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah,
but it's funny when you you cruise around the neighborhood and you see these like clans of like 14-year-olds wearing looking like they're straight out of the 90s. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Like they weren't born. But it's such a trend, especially with cool kids, like real cool, youthful kids that are dressing like how we used to dress in the 90s. It's awesome.
I think it's great. Hey, do you think we could take? I know I'm stretching you out, but I've got a couple more questions about Dan. Could you hang on for one song, and then we come back and we'll sort of start wrapping it up? But
okay. Yeah, sure.
Now this song is from the 90s, or actually maybe it's 80s. No, it's 80s. Good God! But do you know Tone Loc?
Yeah, Tone Loc. Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, I just want to play this just because it's Friday, and I've always liked the song. And it's my go-to karaoke number. So if you can bear with this for a second, we'll play a bit of Tone, and then I'll come back to you. There he goes, Tone Loc with a funky Cold Medina. Oh, Steve, that brought back memories.
Were you singing? You were singing along, right?
Hell yeah. Yeah. I know all the words. It's sad. It's so sad. I had the album Loked After Dark.
Yeah, was that the video when they had the turntable like a guitar and he was doing the scratch like a guitarist? It's pretty cool.
Really old school. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Wild Thing as well. I liked Tone Loc.
Wild Thing, yeah.
He definitely...
He seemed like a likeable character, right?
Well, he kind of did. Because he sort of, he seemed like he sort of laid it all out, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, so we're talking with Steve Dunstan. I better remind people who've just tuned in, the brand director and co-founder of Huffer. Iconic, I hate that word actually. No, brilliant Kiwi clothing brand. You are, and you've done incredibly well. 25 years. To survive like that is no mean feat. But you did lose Daniel Buckley. He sold his share in 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I think we came together and founded the brand back in '97. Built on a relationship pre that through the '90s, we've talked about earlier. But yeah, it was actually he left the business in 2010, and then sold his shareholding in 2012.
Was that
I think was it 14 years together doing the same thing, aligning on a sort of a vision and direction. I suppose it was time for a change for Dan. And he sort of left the business and resigned and moved on. But yeah, it was time to take I suppose not right or wrong, but 14 years of having a relationship, working together, it was probably time to take a singular sort of direction. That's what I think the brand needed. Not whether it be me or anyone else. It just needed a bit of a focus at the moment, and I think we'd stumbled through hard work and passion and determination. We'd stumbled across success, and then it was just translating it to the next step. I suppose needed a bit more focus. So
okay. So was it an amicable kind of split?
Yeah, when he left in 2010, it was he decided to try new things. He's very creative, and he's actually sadly missed because he's a creative genius. After 14 years, it was it was quite a big point in time. But,
it would have been strange because, you two at the coalface, starting out in K Road, very small, tiny start, really, very underground. We're often the best things often start that way, I think, don't you?
Yeah, totally. It's just through, again, living Huffer, So, it was quite a long time ago now. But yeah.
I know, it's just that
things move on.
Just thought I'd raise it because you two were there at the beginning, And do you see each other?
Definitely, and that's so important. No, I haven't seen Dave for a long time actually.
Okay.
He's living down the country. But,
okay.
Yeah.
And so do you get to Queenstown much, Steve?
Oh my gosh! Well, I was in the 90s again. I was spending a lot of time in Queenstown and America. Going to the US snowboarding. I was a sponsored snowboarder, and I was loving that ski bum dream to some degree. And I have an amazing connection with Queenstown.
Yeah.
And being, I suppose, again, starting Huffer in our first range, being outerwear. I quickly, once we dropped our first range, I quickly moved to Queenstown for another season, thinking I could start this brand and then continue the lifestyle. So moved down to Queenstown and worked part-time in a snowboard store that was selling our products. So I got to actually sell it as well, which is really exciting. But just
would have been interesting doing that.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, you didn't think much of it at the time, but I managed to sell it into the store and then work at the store and sell it on the cold front to the customers, which is a cool experience actually. And then, but more so than selling it, I suppose, being in the community in Queenstown, a bunch of snowboarders. There was a lot of Japanese snowboarders used to come in the off season, maybe the university holidays. It was such an awesome contingent of Japanese snowboarders that would come and move for the season, and became friends with all those people, and they loved the brand because it's from New Zealand, and would just sell out of stuff in the store. And so Queenstown's, I've got some fond memories, and it's a really important part of the brand actually. And we talk about Born in the Hills, that it was Coronet Peak pretty much to me.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was up there, every day I could, not just Coronet Peak, but it was your go-to in Queenstown, and snowboarding, it's a great mountain. Yeah, it's quick. You're up there.
You're up there in no time.
Queenstown. I mean, I'd love to be down there more, and I will this year. Like, pandemic got in the way, and I missed the 2020 season. Didn't even snowboard one day for the first time in like 30-something years. But
wow,
managed to get down there last year before the lockdown, and I want to get down there. And actually, it's really important to part of my job with the brand is to help encourage building the community, and you need to be in these, like if you spend all your time in Auckland, our brands, although we live here, I'd hope that it's bigger than Auckland, but to do that, you really need to be in these and support these communities and be part of the room, I suppose,
Yes, and I totally agree with you, but I don't think anyone could accuse you of not, being involved in the various places, and really the birthplace, I suppose, of Huffer. And it's nice to be able to claim that here in Queenstown. It makes me feel quite proud, actually. Queenstown's very, very special for me and the brand. I don't know. There's every time I roll into the basin, it's like such a power, so deep. It's really cool. It's enchanted. Yeah, the enchanted basin.
Yeah,
the basin can also.
is it Whakatipu or Wakatipu?
Well,
sorry, excuse me for not knowing. I have to ask.
I thought you were just losing your rag.
That's why I said the basin. I was actually just might as well be transparent. I'm not sure on the exact pronunciation. I've always.
Look, it's spelt Wakatipu, but there is a move at the moment to have it called Whakatipu, and I often use Whakatipu at the moment because it kind of is fun, and it is the correct way apparently, but it's been mauled a bit through the years, as like a lot of places down here, like the Kawerau River. People when I moved here 20 odd years ago, it was like the Kawara.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, we seem to turn the local place names into Australian names, kind of down this way. But but no, there is a move to Whakatipu, and in fact, the high school and various places are adapting that pronunciation. Now I've kind of started using it on air, and it feels quite comfortable. So, but I mean,
nice.
Yeah, but it just depends on where you're from and where you're at. But
totally.
But it is good, and I think that'll be just pretty much second nature now.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. But that area, I remember some talk of it being one of the 3 high energy triangles in the world or something. But I reckon you can feel it down there. It's just everything's so amplified and vivid for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Unfortunately, it also amplifies the bad times.
Yeah, it does. Yes. So it's quite deep, isn't it?
It's deep. It's a very, I would say, it's weird because when I go to Auckland, and I love going up north, I love getting out of the basin because it gets quite claustrophobic, and it's good for your head to and I love getting to the ocean. But I find Auckland is kind of the glitzy, ditzy, kind of girly party queen, and it's sort of light and air, and kind of fun. That's how I feel when I'm there. And when I come back here, I feel like it's like the yin and yang. It's total opposites, man. It's incredible.
And that's the spice of life, right?
But it's good though, yeah. So that's why you've got to have that contrast. Even if you just drive to the west coast or something and get a bit of ocean or a bit of horizon, people need horizons sometimes. And here it's just huge mountains, and they're super incredible because they make you kind of go in a bit. I think they make you think quite deeply, and you feel quite small in the world, which is good because you realise that you're really kind of pretty minor in the scheme of things.
That's right.
We are getting very deep now. Whoa.
Actually, I was lucky. Not my whole dream, but part of the dream of my life, and was to get a place at Piha, which I have, and I got 3 years ago, which is very close to Auckland, but it is a dead end road. And getting out there to the coast, and I've transferred all my energy from skateboarding and snowboarding, not all of it, but a lot of it, to surfing now. So just jumping in the ocean and escaping the rat race of the city. Just wow, what an amazing, so cool.
I'm a little bit jealous that you find these things so simple because, like, I grew up in the surf town Whakatane at Ahopi Beach, right?
Oh, nice.
Ahope, I should say. And but I never really kind of learned to surf, sadly. I did do a lesson a few years ago and I loved it. I managed to stand up, but I kind of feel I'm just so disappointed that I didn't start that young because I think it's the most incredible sport.
It's a lifestyle commitment. You can't just go, I'm going to go and learn how to surf and give it a go. You've got to commit your life to it. You've got to actually move closer to the ocean and live. It becomes study of life. Mm-hmm. So.
It's a great way of living, But so you've gone from skateboarding to surfing.
Yeah, I suppose being in my 40s,
young man,
later in the 40s. But I suppose falling off your skateboard back when you're in your teens and early 20s, you just bounce off the concrete. But unfortunately, you sink into the concrete now. And actually when we're in with skaters, like you sort of, although it was cool, you're sort of pretty close-minded. I used to think surfers were kooks, long curly hair and going around slashing up. If you saw a surfer on a skateboard, you're like, oh my god, what are you doing? Or a snowboard. But and it's funny, I've now become a surfer, but Anyway, crazy.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you're saying, isn't it, Steve? Yeah, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, you got to have your interest in being able to do. Yeah, what I was trying to say was like having the accessibility. I went from doing 200 days of snowboarding between Queenstown and Tahoe predominantly, so it was something you could just progress and have that. Skateboarding the same. You learn how to do an ollie, then you do a kickflip, then you do a kickflip down some stairs, then you do a kickflip down a handrail, down some stairs. So you're always progressing, and you need to do it all the time, and you get addicted to that sort of progression.
Yeah.
And then when you can't do it like frequently, you start, your skill level drops off a bit. So, so having surfing, it was something that was accessible, that you could get that sort of kick of progression that you could do. So you just sort of mould around the lifestyle. And I suppose Huffer gave me surfing to some degree, because it made me stop and stay in Auckland. So
right.
Kind of cool.
Oh, Piha's a beautiful spot. I love it.
Oh,
and
God, yeah.
well, you know what? I've got the Happy Mondays lined up to take us to news.
There we
right?
go.
How's that?
How you do this?
How's that? Oh, I'm pretty good. So no, seriously, Steve, it's been a pleasure talking today. I've loved it.
Oh, thank you so much. So cool.
Honestly, it's been brilliant.
I didn't realise you'd done a Queensland. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. It is cool, and it's great to have a job on national radio. Yeah, not national radio, nationwide radio, and still be in Queenstown. That is fantastic, because it means I can.
Well done, you.
Yeah, I can love, because I do love it here. It's very special. Yeah. So
I should be down in the next 2 or 3 weeks. You should come down and visit the store, and I'll give you a high five and
you're on
T-shirt or something.
You're on. Okay, I'll bring in the old retro jacket and show you.
Yeah, please, let's do that. That'd be cool.
All right, mate. Well, thank you, Steve
Thank you
Dunstan, so much. Have a brilliant weekend, eh?
Appreciate it.
Catch you.
Yeah, you too.